Okay. I'm going to call to order the Worcester Town Council meeting for June 27th. Please stand and pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I see a lot of new faces. This is nice. If you would like a copy of tonight's agenda, it is here. If you have something to say prior to the public hearing, we have what's called public comments. If it's on the agenda, you do not have to sign up. If it's regarding the public hearing, you do not have to sign up. But if you want to say something now, we ask that you sign up. With that being said, Mr. Savazio.
Yeah. The last meeting, the clerk brought you forth a proposal to raise revenues. The discussion took 30 or 40 minutes. It's on the agenda tonight, but I sat in the back and was amazed how easy it is for this council to lose focus of the big picture, which is money. So tonight, I'm going to make a recommendation to save money. I know you love to save money. There's absolutely no need, I'll do it differently. In the last 2.5 years, the planning board's had 2 or 3 or 4 hearings, public hearings. Other than that, there's absolutely no reason to have an attorney at our meetings for our discussions. And I don't know how much that'll save you, but every dollar counts. In that regard, we've sent you, at this point, 6 advisories, which never been done before. There's a 7th that's someplace in the pipeline. There'll be 2 more coming forward from this meeting. I don't see you ever discussing them, working on them or anything, but. And the last thing is, I'm wondering why the chair of the council would not want the chair of the planning board to have a copy of the zoning violations that the zoning official has written. So, if you want, from now on, you can't comment. I will fill out all requests for public information, which shouldn't be necessary as a public official, but there seems to be something going on between the council and the planning board that we're working together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Savazio.
You're welcome.
Moving on, consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to presentations. The chief is on vacation this week, so he is not presenting, but our planner is here tonight, so.
Okay. So the last time I came here was about 2 months ago, so I'm going to go through some of the things in my planning report for the last 2 months. In regards to zoning, we had a petition to enlarge a mobile home on Plainfield Pike, but that was changed, and the person decided to just replace the mobile home. Just to let you know, it's an enlargement. Raymond and Judy Dexter on Moose Valley Road had an application to kind of put it on hold for a guest house. And Brandy Bates had come recently to put a barn on her property that was approved. So those were the applications that came to the zoning board. Just to let you know that July 10th, I've already advertised a zoning board hearing that will be an appeal to the preliminary plan approval of the Quahog Solar or Hartford Solar project. And I've gotten information from the person appealing about a 100-page document. So I'll be going through that and seeing with the solicitor. So that's coming up. As far as the planning that are not allowed in residential areas that are commercial, and we're looking at possibly refining it so it's not so, it says right now that you can't have a truck that has a capacity of 1.5 tons in your driveway, and that doesn't really relate to other classifications from the federal government, so we're trying to narrow it down. We also discussed with the police chief about potential issues with having retail marijuana in the town for an ordinance, but I guess I would suggest the town just put that on hold for a while because it looks like it's not going to pass in the State House, but let you know that I believe that they voted for 6 additional compassion centers, and now our zoning allows the compassion centers in the GB and on Route 6, so it could be a possibility. I was also asked to look at the wetlands regulations, the DEM regulations versus Foster, because there was a lot of rumors about that Foster was regulated more wetlands than the regular state, and I really looked into it, and that's not the case. I think it was changed previously, because I have some documents that were old, but now you're the same as the state. I actually went to a workshop that they're thinking about changing the state regulations. I guess in 2014 or 2015, the state passed a law that they look at those regulations, and now they're just getting to it. But it would look like they might be more restrictive. They might have larger boundaries around certain properties. So that's something we'll look out for. Instead of a 100-foot buffer, there might be 200-foot buffer for certain areas. Let's see. DPW presented his 5-year road and bridge plan, which basically we don't really have that much money, but we went through that process. We also had a pre-application for 6 lots on Pierce and T. Parker roads. I'm seeing a lot more subdivisions coming in. Let's see, we also had a pre-application for 3-lot subdivision on Central Pike and Harris Only Hopkins Road. I also have gotten information for 5 lots on Cucumber Hill and Harrington, which has the old barn on Harrington, which will be coming in. I went out and checked out Theodore Foster Road, some town-owned property, to look into possibly leasing the land for a solar power, which I think would be great for the town. Let's see. The state came in and talked to me again about energy resources and about incentives, and they are actually trying to put through a new law that says that all solar ordinances have to be reviewed by the state. I think it's going to go through. We'll know in the next couple of weeks. So that's one of the reasons I put that on hold, because there are requirements that they're putting in the law that you have to have. You have the reports if there's any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Jennifer?
Good.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. It was informative. Thank you. And if you don't mind, Jennifer, can we?
Okay.
Take care. Go get some fresh air. Okay, so now we're on to old business. We have building use and rental agreement. This is a continuation from last meeting that Mr. Sabazio so readily pointed out to us that we had discussed it before, and Mrs. Dillon was making some changes to it. So Mrs. Dillon, do you have anything?
I made all the changes that you suggest that you want to change,
Mm-hmm.
and it's, the application and the flyer is in there. So if you have any changes you'd like to make, or you
I'll make a motion to approve the building use and rental agreement as presented by the town clerk.
Second.
Nice job on the flyer, Sue. I was looking at that, and
That's
really
very
nice. It's very informational, and, yeah, it looks great.
Any discussion, further discussion on this?
Did we address charges for Swamp Meadow versus others?
We had not. That was part of our discussion last time as to what that was going to look like and who was going to get who that would be. And I believe, Mrs. Dillon, did I see it in here where you said that, well, oh yes, it says here, fees may be waived for local nonprofits.
So that means we waive it for anybody that has a 503C or whatever it is. Isn't that it?
You have the spreadsheet in there that shows how much they're using our buildings, more, you know, and there's no, you get nothing before that, at all, 25.75. So my suggestion would be, because they're a 501c, would be $25 for the use instead of the 75. That's just a suggestion, and that's totally up to you.
Is that $25 then each time?
Yes.
Because the Scouts use it on a weekly basis, right?
Scouts and Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, all that, they, plus that's part of our town, not.
Oh, so they
This is
were,
just for Swamp, this is just for any 503c nonprofit that is in our community.
all right. Young at Heart uses it.
Young Heart is not,
They're not using it, they use the church.
the church.
Okay.
And we fund that, so I don't see that we would give them the money to.
Yes, that factor.
Because they are all in this community, every, you know.
Mrs. Ryder.
There was so much discussion last time. Could you give us a little cliff note version of,
Let me see, what we have in our minutes. So, if you want to look at presentation, my meeting, policies and procedures, Genesis, I did read it.
and
Oh,
and what
here.
was implemented?
It said, in our minutes, I'll read from that. It says, Town Clerk Sue Dillon explained that she was requesting an update and increase in rates to the old rental agreement, adjusting for expenses and maintenance, wear and tear on the buildings. Rates were dependent on number of people. There was discussion, Mr. Stone objected to adjusting rates dependent on the number of people. We had discussion about who's monitoring that. You know, someone could fill out the application and say, we've got 25 people and they're coming in with 75, or vice versa. Ms. Hawes moved and Mr. Stone seconded to accept it as is. There was discussion. Ms. Hawes felt the fees were reasonable considering the cost of heat and electricity used as compared to other similar venues. Mr. Stone wanted to know who would be monitoring the numbers. The town clerk, Sue Dillon, stated that there is a spreadsheet for all rentals. Mr. Stone stated there is no one there counting the people. Ms. Dillon stated that she and the DPW director have spot checked. Ms. Hawes stated that Woody Loudon could use some TLC, and that if we are going to continue to rent it, we need to maintain it, and the only way to do that is to charge for it. Denise DeFranco stated that if it goes into the general fund, it is an earmark for that. Cheryl Hawes stated that that it could possibly be allocated, which is something we wanted to discuss with you, Kelly. Carol Morrow asked how town residency was determined, specifically Swamp Meadow Community Theater. Ms. Dillon noted that they are charging a lower amount for that organization, and that
that the changes in the case are for parties rather than organization. Mr. Dillon noted that DPW maintains it anyway and that the money is already in the budget. Denise DeFranco stated that this would be more than the usual maintenance. Solicitor Mark Torgy suggested that that they formed a dedicated account. Lynn Ryder, Cheryl Claus, Audrey Carey, Joe Carey, Sue Dillon, Carol Morrow, Ron Savazio, Chris Stone, and Denise DeFranco also spoke. Chris Stone requested that the DPW director and a town official determine the retention of the damage deposit. Ms. Hors suggested that it be the town clerk. Mr. Stone stated that it would be the DPW, it should be the DPW director. Ms. Hors, Lynn Ryder, Denise DeFranco, Sue Dillon also spoke on the topic. Denise DeFranco asked who determined the prices. Sue Dillon explained the clerks talked it over and evaluated the cost so that it could be brought to the town council. Solicitor Mark Torgy suggested tabling this item until a redraft version is available. Denise DeFranco requested Kelly Russ's input. Ms. Hawes amended. Chris Stone seconded the motion to table this item until the changes were made and the treasurer is present. Do you have any further questions on that?
No, I mean, was all that put in there? I mean, as far as what are the fees and now?
The fees are in here, and there is a damage deposit. Woody Loudon for up to 50 people is $75 for residents. Up to 50 people is $125 for non-residents. For 51 to 75 people, $100 for residents. 51 to 75 people is $150 for non-residents. 76 people plus is $125 for residents. For non-residents, it's $175. The fairgrounds is $100, $25 for outdoor electricity. The townhouse is $100 for wedding ceremonies only.
Okay, that's not the damage deposit, those are the rentals.
Those are the rentals. The $100 is just the damage deposit, and that's for all rentals. Okay? But Kelly, reading through it, and I appreciate, because that reminded me, we were discussing about the fact that if we charged at Woody and the monies that, instead of it going automatically into the general fund, setting up a allocated fund, if you will, for Woody's, that if there are repairs, for instance, when Mr. Moore is here, we've done some repairs, Mr. Cadillo, I think under your,
Quite a few.
you had done some things that came out. Perhaps that could help us to curb, help curb the fees.
The thing is, I think all this conversation, I think people are losing sight that it's probably about $1,500 to $2,000 a year. So we could put it in a separate fund, but we've been trying to get away from separate funds because we have over 20 for that have $500, $400, and then what happens is the amount in it is never enough to pay for the repair or maintenance, so it still comes out of the general fund anyway. We budgeted in the general fund as part of miscellaneous revenue, and we also budget for the repairs for the Woody Loudon out of the general fund, so that's not really inappropriate. If you want to, I'm not against it. I would probably, we already have a recreation fund, I think, that has almost nothing in it. That was earmarked for donations that we receive for the rec program, but we don't really receive donations for the rec program, so I think there's $50 in it. We could actually just use that fund for this, but I don't think I would do it in a year coming this year because we already budgeted that revenue in the general fund. It's a couple $1,000, we're not gonna make or break it either way. If we want to, we'll do it.
Well, see, I think a couple of $1,000s could help us.
It could in the long run, but it costs more than that to maintain the building, generally speaking, and it's already budgeted as part of the general fund. So like, I think when Joe was the DPW director, we did do a log replacement that cost nearly $10,000.
Yeah, a lot of replacements, a lot of pest
I
damage.
mean, you could, but then what happens is, it's been traditionally known that you set up these funds, people forget about them, and then they don't utilize the money. We could use that, and I'll keep track of that, obviously, else whatever you want, doesn't really matter, but in this particular year, we do budget some miscellaneous revenue, and most of our miscellaneous revenue is from the rentals of those buildings.
So is the intent of the funds from these rentals to go into an account like the townhouse fund?
Right.
So it would be
That's
for like out of the ordinary, out of the ordinary expenses, not like your regular electric and oil and.
Or you could save up and then when you do need, save up for 5 years and when you need to replace a lot, you have the money or whatever, because it is a lot building.
I think that's what we were talking about last meeting.
I'm not really against it, whatever.
We met they rented, Woody Loudon 16 times last year. That was Swamp Meadow, which would only pay 25 for that. They're not I don't see.
And, yeah.
A lot of, the building's used almost every day, but
It's used for.
it's used for,
Yeah.
you don't receive as much money as you think you do, so. It's probably, I looked into it, $1,500 to $2,000 at the most.
That's still 1,500.
Right,
Well,
we
they
budget
replace
for, the
tiles
thing
and
is, the
floors.
electricity and all of that, is paid for from the general fund, so when you put all the revenue that you're getting from it in another fund, and you pay for all the expenses to use it and rent it, and the general fund is the general funds.
I think
It's not material to me, so I'm
the
not.
way I thought about it is that, okay, so we have this account and the monies go in there, and then if we need to, I don't know the correct terminology, the lots needed to be repointed or whatever.
Place.
We have replaced, we have at least some monies there. It's not used, it wouldn't have to be used every year, but there's some monies there. Even if it is $1,500 a year in 5 years, that's something.
I wouldn't take the other.
You're gonna need a boiler
It's
up
already
there.
budgeted.
You're gonna need a
Pretty
boiler.
sure. So,
I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Could you state your name and your address, please?
Claybrook Hall, 46 Clayfoot Pike.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear his name.
Claybrook Hall.
Okay, thank you.
If as I understand it, you're saying that this change to the rules won't generate a significant amount of revenue. So why are you going through the trouble of legislating?
Good question.
It seems to me you should either leave it alone, and there won't be enough money, or you should figure out how much money it has to be, and then charge something that would generate that amount of money.
Well,
My feeling was, we don't want to charge so much that Swamp Meadow can't use it, but we do feel that they should be contributing something to the electricity or to whatever is being consumed or used that day. My thought was for it to go in a fund. I didn't know if it could be done and that money would accumulate and it could be used for whatever was needed towards fixing whatever was needed. I don't think, I love these programs for the kids, and I'm not trying to, keep them from going there. It's just that I think that everybody needs to take a little bit of responsibility. And by that, I mean, maybe they gotta pay a little bit to be able to have a place to use.
Certainly, I don't object to that.
That's,
But it might, have you spoken with Swamp Meadow?
some Carol was here
To
last,
see what
Carol Morrow was here last.
Because it just seems that if you're going to create even, perhaps the way to do it would be to figure out what they can afford that won't hurt them.
that's another one.
This is right.
Well, my understanding of a lot of this was for people having birthday parties, and not necessarily the town organizations.
Right.
That, and if you got 1,500, 2,000, that could be for an extra that you don't have to wait for it to be budgeted in the following year. Maybe there's a new air conditioner that might be needed, it suddenly breaks and, we don't have the money. But that would be the money.
I would agree with you, she's right. How often does the Woody get utilized? How much does the Woody get utilized for parties, for other things besides what you have on that spreadsheet?
The spreadsheet is just like.
Right.
Right.
And Boy Scouts and-
It wasn't, well, it is just for that one, but total, all three buildings was 4,600.
Right. We were talking about Woody, so I didn't count up
So,
everything.
yeah, just because you want to know how much they can afford and if that is going to break down. I'd say definitely during wedding season, we get a lot of showers, baby showers, wedding showers. birthday parties.
So you mentioned the spreadsheet, but that's not on the spreadsheet, not on this spreadsheet.
But I wanted to just.
You don't have to do that, I thought you said you had a spreadsheet handy.
I do,
Okay,
and I'll put it in Sugar's and breakdown.
okay, thank you. So, and I don't want to hurt Swamp Meadow either, and I think $25, if that's what they,
I believe that they're paying you for school.
yes, I do believe they're paying
And I
it.
They
think
are.
they're paying more than $25
They are,
for
yes.
school, so I don't think the $25 fee is going to go.
No, I don't think it's going to hurt.
I know what their argument is. The argument is that they're trying to save money, but they're in place to do their own thing, and they have to keep paying fees. I get it, but we have to keep paying to keep
Right.
that building
Right.
going for
Right.
them to be able to use.
Right. So, I would propose that having a separate, and I know, I understand, Kelly, another separate account, et cetera, but if there's some way that we can earmark that money, that it is coming from the Woody, and that if there's something that we need done, the money's available. For instance, an air conditioner or something like that, that money is there. We don't have to come and ask us for the general fund.
Oh, you're not.
I-
Like I said, I'm not really married to either solution, it doesn't really matter, it's not a significant amount of money. I'd rather not set up a separate fund by ordinance, we have to have, I don't know how that came about, but a separate recreation fund for donations, there's, like I said, I'll create another line in the same fund and account.
Because,
And keep it.
I do not
So
mean
rather
anything
than
against
go for a separate
recreation.
account, a separate cash account, a separate, I'll just put it in
Have
with
it
that,
building
keep it a
maintenance.
separate line
Yeah.
item so that we can differentiate between the donations and that money and what we got.
And nothing against recreation, because there's only a few people that do, they do a great job. But I'm afraid if the money is put into donations, they might utilize
It
it.
will be a separate line in the same account. We have something like 15 or 20 cash accounts in so many different funds. I'm hesitant to add another fund because of, but we can put it in that money, in that fund and still separate it out so that it's for specifically the Woody Mountain, which is somewhat
And
far
that
away.
would so, before any money is spent in that account, will have to come before the council, right? I mean, nobody's gonna have like check.
No, well, the only one that would allow you to spend that money would be the
Direct.
direct,
Right.
or something specific to the Woody.
So, do I
Well,
have,
I think that, not just them, but any 501(c)(3),
503C?
503C.
I wrote it down.
should be charged that same.
Right.
25.
I can only think of Swamp Meadow, I don't know of any
Well,
other.
I told there were others, but I don't know off the top of my head what they are. There are others, right? 501.
503C?
503C.
Yeah, but, they don't rent. I mean, there's one that rents every weekend.
But I'm saying they should be charged, that's what I'm saying, all. No,
That's just talking about AA.
You can mention that. You can mention the group.
They must have their names over, else they go.
Yes.
I don't know, they've been doing this for years, they put them, I don't know,
They make a donation.
like, you make a donation, but it costs like $75.
Oh, well,
They put it in.
okay.
Good.
If they have extra money, because they put it in a check, so we never said to someone like, give us $25.
What I'm saying is I don't think that Swamp Meadow should be the only one that, it should be.
It should be equal.
Right.
So we can wrap up one thing so we're not taking forever.
Right.
Could I get a motion to put that money aside
We already have a motion.
to accept this, but not to,
Right.
not to say, okay,
Yeah.
well then let's remember that motion. Okay, any further discussion on the document that we have in front of us for the rental policy? We have a motion, it's been seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Under that Can we do a second motion for a separate account or a separate line item under that?
Separate accounting for, the repairs and maintenance of the wood, to designate funds received in rental for repairs and maintenance on the wood building.
Did you get that, Mrs. Dillon?
Yes.
Okay, so good.
I'll
They're gonna make that motion.
to designate the funds received from rentals on the Woody Mountain in a separate line item in a fund for repairs and maintenance.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving on to the status of the recreation field. Mr. Stone, you had asked that. It's been something that's been brought up and
Mr.
up.
Law is here.
Yes,
He can give us a status.
that's, I requested him to come for that.
Thank you for that.
I know, I heard.
The status, I received the bond from the company that was a big delay. Is then requiring construction bond covering the bid. That came today, the original is being mailed to the town hall. They are gonna start on February 9th.
July 9th.
Oh,
God,
That's my birthday.
He's thinking his birthday.
July 9th, he's gonna start construction, he's going to be there, he's already hauled in a lot of material that's he's been buying. So he's all ready to go, it's all GPS. He says it shouldn't take him more than a month. I'm figuring 2 months, but.
The weather was not cooperating
No.
either.
So that's the latest. But I told him we were kind of getting a little
Yes.
itchy on why the delays and what we could start on, so he said definitely.
I'm sure we've all been getting calls in regards to what's happening. So, thank you. Do you have any,
No, I'm good.
anyone else have any questions? Okay, thank you. Under new business, number 6 is commitment of unused funds in DPW for painting in fiscal year 2020. While Mr. Law is here, I get a motion to move that forward so that he can then leave?
I make a motion to move item 6 under new business to the front.
Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, so Kelly, you had spoken to me in regards to this.
We had planned to have the town hall painted in this current fiscal year, as you all know, the fiscal year ends on Sunday. He went out to bid and only received one bidder, and due to the late timing of that, and also the fact that we had very, very poor spring, obviously, even if it was early, we wouldn't have been able to have the building painted. Order for an expense to be counted in this year, that goods or services have to be received by June 30th, it would have happened. We have a surplus in that fund, in that department. I would like to commit $25,000 to $30,000. It will be a commitment of fund balance at that point, because the unspent money in your budget will then convert to fund balance on June 30th, well, after the accruals are reported. So it would be a commitment of fund balance for this project that was not able to be completed this year. The funds really aren't available in the next budget cycle, so.
So this was already.
It was planned and budgeted for. He has the money in his overall budget, from the bottom line for this year, and it's not gonna get done.
So it was just like carry
commit
over
those funds.
into the new budget.
It doesn't really work that way, but yes, the commitment would be a fund balance.
Okay.
That's how it's working.
So when we spoke, I wanted to make sure that there was enough money.
There is,
Do you know how much there is left now at the time?
From a cash standpoint, there's $95,000, but we have another week's salary, we have all these other anticipated expenses, and so there'll be less than that. And some of it relates to a personnel change, which resulted in a surplus in healthcare, which we will, within the next month or two, move to our OPEB fund. We have an ordinance that states if we have a surplus resulting from healthcare, we fund our healthcare for future. So once that's determined, I'll make an adjustment for the auditor for that. So there'll be less of that. We have more than enough money in that department.
Because one of the other things that we had discussed is the
The
fence.
fence. The problem is, I don't know, looking at this, we discussed that one today.
Yes,
Looking at this agenda, I'm not sure we have to discuss with
Right.
Mark whether or not that can be done, because specifically it says commitment of unused funds for DPW for painting. I don't know if it can be done as part of the discussion
We
for
have-
recreation field, because it does say discussion action. I would like, when the budget was done, I wasn't aware that we had to, per the trust, build up a fence around the recreation field.
remember
For
we had that
liability?
discussion, we have to put up that
Okay.
fence.
because baseball's going on the road.
Right.
We have no idea how much that's gonna cost, because part of the bid, for the field included a fence. So it'd be, I would say the difference between a 4 or 5 foot fence and a 12-foot fence. I don't know what that is, it's a large area, but we were talking that if we could we also have a payment in lieu fund, which is designated specifically for, it's one of those things that's been building up that you don't use, period, but we bought that land with that, and we paid the first phase of, part of the first phase in that fund. We do have money in there, but not knowing how much the fence will cost, I'd like to put $10,000 away just of the,
Can that fall underneath the old business of status of recreation field?
Well, you have to go back into that.
Right.
You've already
Right,
come
but-
out.
Right.
Right.
So I'll
You
make,
can do that.
I'll make a motion where we are right now
Mm-hmm.
to commit, how much was the amount we wanted?
And
30,000?
how much is,
No, not for the fence, for the.
No,
I don't want to talk about the
Okay.
painting.
Mhm.
30?
30.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
If the project is less, we would spend less of that.
Up to 30.
Up to
Right.
$30,000.
Okay, so I will make a motion to commit up to $30,000 of unused funds from the DPW account for painting of the town hall in fiscal year 2020.
Second.
Fund balance, you're committing fund balance, not DPW, it's fund balance, commitment of fund balance.
So just need to move to the fund balance.
Okay, so who seconded that? Okay, you got that? I'll just make a motion over because I said DPW.
Yes,
You're all right, just
Just
striking
say
that and going to fund
fund
balance.
balance.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so it was Heidi and then Joe seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So now,
Motion to go back into old business.
can we have a motion to go back into old
Make
business?
a motion to go back to the old business second.
Now, motion to go back into the status of the recreation field.
Can we make,
No, we'll
can
yeah.
can we vote on that? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so now going back into the status of recreation.
I make a motion to go back into the status of law fitness recreation field.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're back into the status of recreation field. We were discussing about the fence and putting a surplus of $10,000 from into the fund balance. Into?
You're gonna commit $10,000 fund balance for,
The net.
For the fences.
yeah, I don't even know what that is.
That is slash
Different costs,
Difference in cost.
the change in specs, basically. You're changing the bid specs is what you're really doing, you're changing, it's an additional,
Right.
So.
it's like an amendment to the original contract, so he's gonna suffer an additional cost to do that, and we'll pay him that. And whatever exceeds the 10,000, we'll pay from the payment in lieu.
So I'll make a motion to commit up to $10,000 of the unused fund balance for the purpose of fencing and or netting as required in
For liability.
Difference in price, difference in price.
Second.
Discussion? Yes.
I remember when the discussion of the fence or net or whatever came up, cost was being ballparked like between 30 and 60,000. So there is already some money for the fencing?
For a 6-foot
For a
fence,
6-foot fence.
I think it's 6 foot.
6-foot fence.
6-foot fence is 4
It needs
feet.
to be increased.
And now it has to be twice as high, in a certain, just along 94.
So it'll just be the difference.
That would be the difference.
Situate didn't do that. They just reconfigured all of their ball fields on.
We talked about doing that too.
To the road.
Right.
The trust is the one
They're right
that's
on.
recommending that we put that, which I pretty much think that it's kind of ridiculous.
I
Because there's a
understand,
buffer of
but
woods before you get
maybe they must
to
be insured
94.
too.
Yeah, but that buffer is, that's coming out.
That's coming down.
Oh, it is.
What if you reverse the,
We talked about that.
Yeah.
We can't go back.
You have to make all the
We talked about doing that too.
Can't change it because of the grant. That's right.
It's the way it was stated with the original grant. They are approved for that proposal, and now we have
That's
to
it.
start over.
That's what we're
We're already-
doing.
we're already trying to push things to completely correct.
And it was a summer camp too.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
right. So,
I
yes.
remember
So
when
now we're
it
seeing
came up
what we're
with
looking
the trust saying that the fence had to be higher, and I thought we went out to bid for that then.
No,
When it first got discussed.
no.
The
We
original
never-
bid
we never
includes
went
the
out bid.
fence.
The original, but then it came up about the trust saying that it had to be higher, so, and I remember Gordon saying it had to go back.
No, I
to
think,
bid for
Mr.
that.
Gore, did you question a few people who never went out to bid? Did you talk to somebody to see a ballpark of how much that
No.
was? I thought somebody,
There's super up in the air, what kind of
Right.
fence we're looking at.
I know nothing went out for bid, but I thought somebody had asked a ballpark.
There were a lot of different
There's a lot of
suggestions.
suggestions of what kind of fence to put up. Go with something to pull up, let down, but then how do you ensure that people are gonna put it up? And it's eventually gonna fall apart, so.
Right.
You could do with a permanent chain link fence, just extend the outfield fence up to the 4-foot line, but again, that's kind of an eye visual thing that people might want to look at.
In my opinion, I think it's gonna get tricky. What's gonna get tricky is that you have a company who bid on the whole project. It's getting them to identify how much was for the fencing.
Right.
And say, okay,
Was
well,
it
now this is
broken
the
down?
difference, because you could drive
It's
it
not on the
over.
plan, but the fence place is like right at the moment.
But the
I
price is.
don't know that off the top of my head, but it's in there, but the fence has to be designed.
Right.
I'm not sure that's
That's what I'm
5
gonna
feet.
do.
Right,
So
so
my-
now, does it say, did it break down when they made the bid that for the fencing, it's this amount of money? I think that's what it
No,
does.
so my point is,
Yeah,
you understand my point, that they could very simply lowball what they think the cost of the fence is, and then we're stuck paying a higher amount, and that would be his way of recouping some of the cost of the project, and that, I think, it overruns or whatever. So ideally, it's gonna get a real tricky,
yes.
for that aspect.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Law, have a nice evening. Moving on to Conservation Commission, you have in your sugar sink or in your packet, a letter from, or an email from Kathy Zahansky. Is Kathy here?
No, she's not, she couldn't make it tonight.
Okay. Regarding an interest in the Conservation Commission. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Kathy Zahansky to the open spot on the Conservation Commission.
Second.
Discussion?
She had, her letter was great, it seems like she has a lot of good experience.
And I did speak to Dave Rathman, and he is familiar with her. She helped out a lot on Earth Day, and they thought she would be a very good addition to the commission. So, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abandoned dog rescue. We have here an application for July 27th for the abandoned dog rescue. They're looking for an F1 liquor license.
He does this,
Right.
he's
He
been
does.
doing it for quite a few years.
I make a motion, we give them the F1 with was,
Discussion? Did you, Mrs. Dillon, by any chance, did you ask the chief about this? Does he know about it?
No, I didn't ask the chief.
this has to be notified.
Right, right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to the RFP audit bid approval. Within your sugar sink, you have the bid that Kelly put out.
For the request for a proposal. The RFP was approved by the Auditor General, state law, mandates that occurs. They, you have to prepare the RFP, you send it to them, they send you back a formal approval. They also sent me a list of the audit firms that they consider qualified in this area, and some external that they know of who have completed audits, but they don't have much experience with them. I personally emailed the RFP and the ad, so to speak, to the individuals on that list. Also, we put it on the state website, and I think ours too, right? The state procurement website and ours. We did receive some email correspondence, some other questions or answers, mostly about the cost, the timing, and pretty much that's it. That's really what they're interested in. So cost of the audit, what our prior year's audit costs, etc. And the RFP was closed yesterday. The only one who bid on it was the firm who currently does it. I think that's, generally speaking, we receive 1 or 2 bids, maybe on an occasion 3. The last time we received 3 bids, it was from a company in Maine where they pretty much phoned it in and they had a really bad, several communities have had a really bad experience with them. So, the late timing of the RFP, that you can't go out for RFP until the audit is actually completed, and you can't, it's like an independence issue, you have to know what the final payment is and how that process, or in the stages of processing the payment, because you can't start a new audit with owing your prior auditor, etc. So, we have one firm, you see the price on it, it did go up about, I want to say, $5,000 to $8,000 overall from the previous 3 years bid, so they bid on it. Since then, the state has mandated, I want to say, 3 new procedures that they have to do. One of them is the municipal transparency portal, which is very timely. So they have to audit that, they have to do that, we implemented this year. We actually had to pay an additional, I want to say, $3,000 or $3,500 for that implementation. Again, another state mandate that you have to now include in your audit, so we can't really do anything about that. The price was competitive based on the normal other people pay. I submitted something to the Auditor General because the Auditor General has to approve your auditor as well. So if you do vote on that tonight, or I'm hoping that you do, that you do vote contingent upon approval of the Auditor General. So in this case, you both have to approve your auditor. I gave you the pricing for the 3 years, it's a 3-year bid, and the breakout between the town and the school. So we organize the audit for the school, it goes in, their school department goes into our audit, is included in our audit, but they bill them separately. So our portion of it, I think, is $22,000 maybe?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the total audit is $33,000. It is, they budgeted about 425 hours to complete the audit. It's a timely, it takes a lot of time.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the bid as given.
What will that be for? Will that be 102?
The total for the 3 years is a 102.
We want to approve the whole thing.
You're approving the 3 years.
We can,
Because you're approving the auditor, is what you're doing, and then we bill the school accordingly. They have really no choice.
okay, that's what I didn't want.
They have zero choice.
I agree with you, I didn't want them coming back and say,
They
okay.
can't have their own audit, they can't go on their own.
Okay.
Should we have
For the
any
region.
motion?
Yes.
But this is our local school, but Folsom Gloucester Regional is separate.
So we can include.
I make a motion that we work with the Baking Company CPAs upon approval of the
The auditor general.
Second.
Discussion. I do want to say I'm glad that we're getting a jump on this. I know it's
I want to
been.
start it as early as possible.
Yeah.
According to their bid, they're gonna start in July. I just want to say the 30th of July. So that's why I didn't want to postpone it.
I'm glad that we've got a jump on this because I know it's been late and
Yeah.
because of all the things. I think the new program it's in place and should help us.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Yes.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm a little late on my comment. I'm from Abandoned Oxford Island, the dog rescue that you guys just talked
Oh,
about.
yes.
I missed, it happened so fast. We did actually notify the chief.
Oh,
We
good.
sent
Thank
him a
you.
letter, so we just wanted to let you know.
Yeah.
And also, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I hope you have a good turnout.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the audit?
Those I have your certificate if you want.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving on to the division upgrade for tax collections. I was glad Ms. Monroe was here to discuss it, and I spoke to Nancy Delaire, and she could not stay, but she said, please, I need this. So, we have a motion before we go into further discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve the vision upgrade for tax collection and administration.
Second.
Did you need a dollar amount in that?
Well, we can discuss that. It does have a dollar amount in the,
I think the motion, Denise, what was that?
the motion is to
Approve the
approve the
vision.
vision upgrade for tax collections and administration. And Heidi's question was, do we want to include a cost in there? And we do have in your
Yeah, it's
servicing,
$58,875.
so. Joe, do you still second?
Yep.
Okay. Discussion. Patty, do you want to tell us what was in on this?
This software is, the software we have right now has to be at least 25 years old. Yeah, it's a good 25 years old. For collection and assessor side. So Vision is putting together new software for both sides. That price you see in front of you is for both softwares, not just one. It's for both. Nancy and I are both on the advisory board for this new software. We go to meetings once every couple of months. We give them our suggestions of what it should be, how it should work. And then they go back and they put everything and see what works and what doesn't work. It's something that has to be, we're going to have to do, because eventually they're not going to be supporting it anymore. So they want, what Vision is looking for is a commitment right now. We have to give them a small deposit, and they had, at one of the meetings, they already had somebody who had already committed first place. The second place was open, so I put us in right away. But I didn't ask Kelly. I came back and told her what we did, and she just looked at me and walked away.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, she goes, that was happening to the guest. I said, we either did it then or we lost it, which gave us a bigger discount on the software. I was trying to knock out the first guy, but I couldn't do it. They weren't on. But it's a 20%,
Yes.
25% discount off the original. That's what that price is right there. It's not going to be this year that we get it. We're hoping for maybe next year, sometime next year, as they put it all together, because they're still in developing stages. And it's a lot of the assessors and collectors around the state that go to these meetings, and we all give our input as to what works and what's not going to work. It'll make a lot of things a lot easier, especially for phone calls. We get them done faster because we'll have more information right in front of us, right in that screen, instead of going from one screen to another, so it is a software that's not going to be, our software is not going to be supported in the future. So it's either get this at this amount now, or if we wait, I don't know what it will cost later.
Well, the original price was $75,000.
Yeah, that was the
If you,
original price.
if you go with someone else, she's saying, if you don't
Oh,
do
with
this.
these, yeah. So it's a deposit of $3,000 now.
They're willing to accept 3,000 now. They asked for
Just to hold us separate.
Just to hold our spot.
Second
We
place,
have
and
that
that amount of money.
in the budget, we have money.
No.
Okay, so that's gonna be a contingency.
Yeah, and
Um,
it'll come out of July, it's next year's contingency, I wouldn't even be able to justify it for this year.
right, and
So it'll
then,
be 2020, if you can believe that.
well, we have till August 1st, it says.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're okay going into July. And then we're just gonna have to budget for this in capital for the next year.
So this promise, what it does is it commits you to $60,000. That's what it's doing. But according to them, if you don't get the discount, they're going to sell the product for $78,500.
So do we have to sign a contract now? Is that what it is? We give them?
So basically, they're asking me to
So
sign
there's no
a
backing
contract
out.
relating to this, yes.
Actually, make sure.
So you don't have to, but you'll lose the money that you put down, which is why I asked for a smaller commitment of I think 3,000 instead of they wanted 10.
20%.
They wanted 10 to 15.
Right, they want 20% of it.
So they're willing to take the 5%, because I guess basically what they've done, because they came out to talk to me, because I'm the one who was against it. But against committing to $78,000 that you're not going to spend until 2 years, now you've committed, but what they're doing is they're developing a project, and they put about $2 million worth of development fees into this. Vision, Mark must know this too, has a monopoly in the state of Rhode Island for the most part. They do about 33 of our 39 communities, and that doesn't include the fire districts or other, they do put it in. So what happens is if you don't use them, you have to go to one of the other programs. They're actively seeking people now because they see this as Vision is weak right now. So they're trying to get into other communities, and this is their time. So that's why Vision wants the commitment, because they're investing a lot of money. They don't want to spend $2 million to lose half of their clients. So that's why they've gotten all the communities involved to implement all the things that they think are wrong with the program, so that they're happy with it. I do know of a few communities, Westerly, for example. The other programs who do work this type of software, they're not from Rhode Island, they're from Connecticut, Massachusetts. They're breaking into Rhode Island. There might be one or two smaller ones, but they're breaking into Rhode Island. And I know that they just got Westerly to do it and transfer, and I guess they are having some problem. But you're going to be pretty much alone in it. So if you have problems with the program, and from what I hear, everybody's signing on board, because nobody really wants to change. The program is already integrated with the CAMA software that she's already upgraded, and we spent quite a bit of money on that program. So we're updating, and they all work together. It gets really difficult to switch. I don't think it's going to be a cost savings to switch. It is probably going to be a cost savings to stay and upgrade the software. And obviously, it's a savings if you get the 20% discount.
And the software is being developed specifically for Rhode Island.
Yes.
So in this proposal, I don't see any ongoing support.
There is. If you read, it talks about the support, it talks about the training that will be involved.
I see training.
When you come into, and then, no, because the support is always separate, make no mistake. We pay thousands, you look at our budget, right, how many of software that it takes to run a government, and each program has its own maintenance agreement, so it will have its own maintenance agreement, but I remember looking at the price, and it was relatively inexpensive compared to what it is now. I think it might be a decrease to what we pay now.
I just didn't want to get tied into something and then find out that there's going to be some kind of ridiculous maintenance contract that we got
But
stuck with.
they're gonna be able to make the changes as the state makes the changes.
They do make the changes. Actually, one of the selling points that he gave us the other day was because they have such a large volume of communities here, when the state goes to make any changes to the motor vehicles, they ask them to sit at the table.
That's good.
Because they integrate as they go, and they also ask them, can you do this because with your software? Because if they can't do it with their software, the state can't do it. Because most, I mean, and some people don't realize how complicated the billing system for taxes can be. With all the credits, with all of the, who has a tax freeze, who doesn't, the credits, and now the motor vehicle, 85% depreciation versus this, the maximum rates of billable mill rate per thousand. There's so many complicated facts that the state and the state law governing motor vehicle, the motor vehicle phase out is extremely complicated. So they have them sit and develop it as they go so that they know the software can handle their changes in the legislation. That's a plus, obviously.
Thank you. So we have a motion, it's been seconded, any further discussion?
Just a
Yes.
quick one.
Yep.
Vision is the previous provider also?
Yes, but we were using Fox.
I know, it's obsolete, so.
Their main functioning in the program, like whatever you call it, the process is Foxborough, and it's not going to be served. So we'll have to get a different system eventually, because they will maintain it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to the zoning board, we have a email from Mr. DeLuca that he needs to resign from the term does end in December of 2022. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept Robert DeLuca's resignation letter with regrets.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And he will be missed.
He will be. He's very good. Moving on to our public hearing. The council is going to move into the audience because Michelle has her presentation, but I do want to go over our hearing procedure. Once the applicant is read, once the application is read, the president will hear from the applicant first. It is the applicant's burden to present evidence supporting his or her request. The presentation must be clear and to the point. After the applicant has completed his or her presentation and the council has asked any questions to their satisfaction, the hearing will be open to the public. Both proponents and opponents of the proposal will be allowed to speak. Proponents will speak first, followed by opponents. Any person who wishes to speak will please come to the front, provide your name and address. All questions and statements must be addressed to the council president. There will be no crosstalk in the audience. We limit the time because I know that there are a lot of people. We also receive many emails in support of this. You are cautioned to avoid repetitious or irrelevant comments. Personal attacks will not be allowed. Once all have been heard, the council will close the public comment and wrap up the discussion. The president will then accept a motion to approve the application. The council does reserve the right to postpone the decision until the next regularly scheduled meeting for the application. So before us, we have an application from the Country Mutt. It's with Michelle and Alex Ziemba, I should know that, at 110 South Killingley Road in Foster. She's looking, or they are looking for a kennel, in particular a boarding kennel license for holding up to 25 dogs, am I correct? And they do have all the proper fundings, etc., and it has been advertised. So with that being said, I will open the public hearing, and we will move so you can do your presentation. Thank you. just underneath it. My laptop's right there.
This is like Christina, thank you. That's as good as it's gonna get.
Yes, you're in control.
It's not him.
All in one hand. It's also.
And attention, Mike?
Okay, so we just have a brief presentation about what we're proposing to the town. And if you don't know us, we're Michelle House, we have a home country month in Situate, and we've been in business about 8 years. If you need to reach any of us for any questions, we have our contact information here, and we can provide it later as well. We know that the word kennel gets everybody's attention all the time. It's kind of like a dirty word, because I feel like the word kennel conjures up a lot of different images of stuff that is generally not very attractive to most people. So I just wanted to dispel some of the myths about the things we're not proposing to do at all. So for some examples here, this is a very old, antiquated version of a boarding kennel with the chain link, the concrete block, a very kind of sad looking place for doggies. In addition, this trench always comes to be a great big topic of discussion in boarding kennels. And I'm going to speak about that trench a little more because it's important, because the questions invariably are going to come up. And I just want to point out that these kinds of operations exist prior to the 2015 regulations by the state of Rhode Island being put into effect by the Department of Agriculture Animal Health Section, which is headed by State Veterinarian Dr. Scott Marshall. And so the regs are very new. Prior to there being any state regulations, you did not have to have heat or air conditioning or any climate control in a dog kennel. It wasn't mandatory. It is now. So that's why I kind of use this picture. They also regulate the kinds of materials that you put in a boarding kennel to make sure that it's sanitizable and disinfectable. So like wood and unsealed concrete is no-no now because we have regs. Prior to 2015, we did not have any state regs. This is a commercial breeding facility. It just looks big and ugly. But a lot of boarding kennels do look big and ugly from the outside. And I use this picture just because this looks makeshift and unprofessional. That would probably be acceptable in a public emergency situation where they're evacuating people and animals and you're housing animals in emergency, but this would not be acceptable in a private boarding facility, and certainly not the kind of facility we're proposing. Sometimes people have these images. I use this image because there's wood. Wood's not sanitizable and disinfectable. There's mud. Mud harbors bacteria, viruses, and filth. This is rarely how sled dogs are housed, but, and I know we get a lot of snow usually in Foster, but we wouldn't be proposing anything like that. And then back to this picture right here, and I apologize, I was hoping I had bigger wall space. That picture there is the old unsealed concrete center aisle with a rusty, low-grade chain link as enclosures. And the reason why those drainage trenches exist in the first place is because boarding kennels have been around for a very long time, and if they didn't have outside runs, if the dogs did not have outside runs to go out to go to the bathroom in, the dogs would stay their entire stay in a concrete and chain link cell, and they would eat and they would defecate there. And so what would happen is once or twice a day, someone would take the dogs out, put them somewhere else, and come down with a big hose, wash everything out into that drainage ditch, and then that would be pitched out, and that could go into the ground or possibly a dry well. But and so we don't need one
of those, and we would not be installing one, and I can explain why. But there wouldn't be any of those trenches in our facility because we don't need them. So these kinds of things are what the word kennel means to a lot of people, but it isn't what it means to us. But the word kennel is the word that, we can call it pet resort, boarding facility, but it's a kennel at the end of the day, and that's how the regs are written. Actual kinds of proposed facilities that we would be looking to build here in Foster would be buildings that look like this. Pretty inconspicuous, not jumping out of the landscape, tasteful, clean, professional, tidy, something that would go with the rural character of town, for sure. And I just wanted to point out that this particular example of a boarding facility, these arborvitae are not just there for aesthetics, they are there for noise mitigation to absorb some sound. And Alex and I are very aware of there being concerns of barking. We don't like to listen to barking, and we know our neighbors wouldn't either. So, especially sustained barking. So, this is what we have in mind. We have not designed a building yet because that's quite an investment, and so we're seeking permission to have a kennel so that we could go forth with plans. Any plans would go through building and zoning, and then the facility would be inspected again as a new facility by the state veterinarian's office. So for inside the proposed facility, this is actually what the inside of the Country Mutt looks like in Situate. So these are our suites. There is no guillotine door at the back of those kennels where dogs go out into a chain link enclosure. They would be in the gas station if we had that. We cannot have kennel runs in Situate. We have very little room in Situate, and we're running out of room. But we managed to succeed in having a facility where the animals are pottied and exercised several times a day. And we very, very infrequently clean up any indoor soiling. And that is the goal. And one of the reasons for that is, and so that ties into why we don't need the trench, is because all the animals that board with us are household pets. They are not tied up out to a doghouse or tied up to the tree, because that's not the world we really live in anymore, or certainly not around here. They're already housebroken, and they're already used to a routine, and we keep a routine and schedule very similar to that of their home. These would be the kinds of suites we would be having inside the building. And then we are hoping that if we are approved, we would also be having an indoor training, exercise, and enrichment area, because the weather in Foster may not always be conducive to being in the great outdoors, although we like to be out as much as possible. It will be nice to be able to train and enrich the dogs that stay with us indoors in climate control. So those are some conceptual ideas just for you to understand what we're thinking of. And just for everybody's information, I'm not sure if everybody does know that boarding kennels are regulated and inspected, and every year, not only do I have to go before Situate Town Council for pre-approval every year, but I also have to submit by June 30th of every year a new application or renewal application to the state veterinarian's office. So we're actually in that renewal process right now. And some of my other credentials are, I am pet CPR and first aid certified, and I put this in here, a certificate of attendance for QDD. It's called Quiet Dog Daycare. I've taken several professional developments on how to have a quiet and lower stress boarding environment for dogs. Less barking, less excitement, less crazy. And so I work very closely with Laura Wagner. She's my mentor, and she's out of the Plymouth area in Massachusetts. And so I've attended several of her seminars. And this is, if anybody wants to look into the regs, I put the link up here. It's a little tricky to find. It's kind of hidden, but that link right there will bring you right right to what the current standards for boarding kennels for housing dogs are, where it spells out temperature, materials, disinfection, sanitation laws, and also the amount of space required as far as like kenneling for a size of a dog. You aren't going to put a Newfoundland into a 2x3 enclosure. So animals have to have enough room to sit, stand, lie down, and stretch out comfortably. But they actually call out some of the dimensions, and probably if anybody's here from animal control, you know that when those regs came in, that created a lot of scrambling for municipal animal controls, because municipal animal controls were like, yeah, we're not compliant, we need new animal shelters. So that was some of the follow of these regs coming in, but the regs are good, we need them. Currently, on South Killenly Road, Alex and I had about how many square feet is it there?
That's a 14,000 square foot fenced area.
We put up some fence off of our horse barn because we are running out of room in Situate for the large breed dogs and the popularity of our service. And we said, well, what can we do to get more room? And moving out of the village to another commercial location wasn't very appealing to us. So we said, well, let's try a little bit of an excursion model. Let's put up this very safe fence, 6 foot tall. Let's mow a piece of our pasture behind the barn, and let's bring the dogs up to foster and see how that goes. Let's test it out. So we did. So this is looking from the rear towards South Killenly Road behind the barn. And this is, so we installed chain link, which is much more cost effective in the back, but out of respect to our neighbors and for our aesthetics, which is very important to us, we installed the cedar front, and I thought it was a pretty fence so that anybody driving by or anybody who lives close, when they look out, they don't see something that looks like a big tennis court, including the gate. The gate is a huge 10 or 12 foot gate on rolling tracks, and they were very willing to make me an ugly chain link metal gate that kind of looked like a prison. And I asked them, can we do the cedar front fascia? So they did that for us. So currently, that is what's going on in Foster. So the dogs do come from Situate. They leave from about 10 to 4. They play, they run, they get tired, and we chop them back, and their moms and dads pick them up. How do we do that? Well, we invested in a van. So this is a retrofit handicap van, and it has these honeycomb kennels, so that if we have to stop short, or any traffic incident, the dogs are projectiles in the vehicle, we're keeping our clients' dogs safe, and we can put about 16 to 18 dogs in that van comfortably. And it's kind of like a throwback to my old career of being a public school teacher. I'm doing attendance, and I'm calling names, and we're going on a field trip. The dogs initially were like, why are you putting us in a truck and taking up? And then like, oh, let's go, So to give you a little idea, I hope the volume works, but one of our staff members, Layla, made a very brief video for you guys to show you kind of what it's like. Uh-oh, we were afraid that was going to happen.
That's not good.
I was afraid it was going to happen. That's just a problem.
Check the volume
The
on the
volume is
screen.
all the way down.
Oh, hey, we might be okay now. Believe it or not, I used to go through this when I was a teacher, and the kids were like, well, I'm not gonna try to.
I think your volume.
On the screen.
On the screen.
Oh, is it on the screen?
Yeah, it's on the screen. It's all right.
You have to minimize the size of the.
Okay, well, maybe we can,
Hit escape.
maybe we can fix it quick.
Yeah, all you have to do is
When you're in the
when you
video.
hit play,
Oh,
okay, but it was off.
Yeah, we have
it
All the way to the right.
There you go. Make sure
Okay.
it's all right.
Okay, it's enough of it.
You know, did you put it in the same thing? We fought with this all afternoon.
First the laptop.
We'll try again.
Layla and I work for Old Country Mutt. I'm going to show you our daycare environment for the day. We are at the farm right now. We have multiple pools and shaded in areas for the dogs. We have a little digging pit. Dogs especially like this when it's warm out. It's 2:30 p.m. It's about 80 degrees outside. We've had mostly a sunny day with partial clouds. Lots of dogs laying down right now. Taking advantage of our cool little barn that we have going on. We have lots of waters that we refresh hourly. And some of our dogs even get comfortable enough to sleep. Everyone's really been enjoying the sun and the shade today. As of right now, no one's really playing. It's just a little quiet time. So when things start to kind of wind down here.
So I'm glad that played because without volume, it would seem like I'm just making up that it's quiet. But it really is quiet. There are times when it's noisy. I mean, the nature of dogs, it's transition time usually, and it's maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and we settle right down right away. Of course, I'm not gonna lie to you, dogs bark. And it's at transition times. That's the nature of dogs. We don't want to do that again. So, we do have behavior requirements. We're not just taking anybody's dog because they're willing to pay us to board or daycare the dog. Dogs are all friendly family dogs. They have to be social with other dogs or social to a degree. Some dogs are dog selective, and some dogs are dog tolerant. And those dogs will get some modifications to their play. We don't take nuisance barkers. So a nuisance barker is a dog that is so stressed for whatever reason that they just bark incessantly for sustained periods of time. Why don't we take them? You know, if we get a dog and they're a nuisance barker, we gently tell the people we can't help you. We have to refer you out to a different facility where that's not an issue. Obviously, that's stressful when you're working in an environment and there's an incessant constant barker because if the dog's telling you to do something and you can't make them stop, so you feel like you can't help them. It's stressful on us. It hurts our ears. We don't want our neighbors to hear that. In Situate, if you had any idea of what the close proximity of our facility is to our neighbors, we're in the village. It's very, very close. We've been there for 8 years, and we have to shut down and mitigate or do something for barking like immediately. Otherwise, I wouldn't be getting a renewal every year in Situate. So the other big reason why we don't tolerate nuisance barkers is because in a kennel and during downtime, a dog that's a nuisance barker will continue to bark. What that does is it upsets the dogs that are boarding in the facility with them. Those dogs get anxious because that dog is in a state. Then those dogs get stress diarrhea. Just let's clean it up. It doesn't want it, me. So that is just another reason why we don't put up with nuisance barking. There's many reasons why. Dogs can't be escape prone. We've never had that. I'm sure at some point someone will scale a 6-foot fence like a gazelle, but I pray that doesn't happen. And of course, the dogs cannot have a bite history with people or other dogs in order to be in our facility. We do have health requirements. You can't walk in off the street and be like, I'm leaving for the Caribbean and my failure to plan is now your emergency. Take my dog. They have to have a rabies vaccine, a distemper parvo that's current, a canine upper respiratory, also known as a dreaded kennel cough vaccine. They have to have a negative fecal, that they don't have anything transmittable like Giardia, hookworm, whipworm, or any of those coccidia, disgusting intestinal things. And they need to be on heartworm prevention. Our people need to set up with us first. process. So we're vetting and screening and interviewing our customers to make sure they're a good fit for us. And we do require that, how do we know that the dog's behavior is good for boarding? Because if they are new customers to us and they want to board, we require that they do 2 days of daycare for us to get to know the dog. So, you know, we've not had to dismiss too many dogs from the country mutt, but there have been a few for unpredictable behavior mostly, and a little bit of nuisance barking. And it's hard to tell people that, but that's the business that we run, and we've got to stick to our business model. So that's just a little bit about how we run the business. We do have sanitation protocols. In case anybody's wondering, what are we doing with the dog poop? Well, we're doing what everybody else does with the dog poop. We're bagging it up in biodegradable bags, and it's going in a bag, and it's going to the Johnston landfill. And I don't think that's a great option, but that's where all our trash goes. And so whether they're pooping at the Country Mutt in Situate, or pooping at the farm in Foster, or they're pooping at home in Situate, everybody's dog poop is pretty much ending up in the Johnston landfill in plastic bags. I mean, that's reality. So we are certainly exploring some eco-friendly composting options if they even exist. There are some, but we don't know if like a doggy septic, where, you know, you've got bins with holes and you add some enzymes and you're trying to do just like pretty much a septic system. We don't know if those are feasible for the volume, but we're considering that and always looking for new ideas. As far as cleaning, why we don't need the trench, I explained that already, but in addition, we can clean everything. We use Kenlin disinfectant, we use 10% bleach and water. We just do everything by hand, so it's a lot of elbow grease and a lot of manual labor. And there is no waste trough, so there is no runoff. So we're cleaning like everybody else is cleaning up after their dog at home. There's pee accident, you wipe it up, you spray it, disinfectant, enzyme neutralizer, paper towel, and it goes in the trash and you wash your hands, and we're cleaning the same way. We have very few indoor accidents, maybe 4 or 5 a week. Honestly, none of us like to be cleaning up poop indoor or pee or anything. So, and the sanitation protocols also tie into the state regs. We do have to keep sanitation logs, and the state vet can come in and he can ask for the sanitation logs at any time, and we have to furnish him with 6 months prior. So, you know, it would be the same here as it would be in Situate.
Yeah, I'll speak to this. So, talking about our site, our property is a 46-acre site with the boundary highlighted in red here on South Boundary Road. This is an existing conditions plan, so basically I just wanted to highlight what we have on our property currently. Our residence is right up at the road's edge. To our right, on the east side of our property, we have existing horse shed and 2 horse sheds and a fenced paddock, as well as behind our home, we have another shed with paddock. And then to the west, we have our riding arena for the horses, and entry into a separate driveway entry to our barn with our existing barn. And then our existing fenced area is this area dashed in white. So that kind of gives you an idea of our site. And our site is comprised of 10 acres of open land and 36 acres of wooded, and we're in a forestry program. So what we're proposing to do is we're proposing to utilize the existing open area in front of our barn as a parking area for our vehicle, as well as the every now and then customer that will come in, because primarily would be, and Michelle can speak more to it, but primarily would be bringing dogs up from Situate here to be boarded with our transport van, and then local foster residents would be able to drop off at our location, being close proximity. Not too many people want to drive out to Foster from North Kingstown or you know, southern Massachusetts or what have you. So what we're proposing is it's approximately 180-foot setback. This red square denotes approximately 60 by 55 proposed building size. We're still working through the program, but that's kind of the footprint that we're looking for. It would be behind the barn, matching roof lines, tucked in, so it wouldn't be really prominent on the street. We're not looking, we live there too, so we don't want it to appear as a commercial property. We don't want a big sign out front with the country mud and flashing lights and everything to draw attention. We don't need it. We're trying to keep it nice and quiet and rural. And then we just, as we would, once we would build the facility, we would expand the fencing as needed, a small portion just to kind of balance out the layout. We kind of quickly sat down and just kind of tried to work through schematic ideas, trying to figure out a program to develop that footprint of the building, so that 60 by 50 is a maximum size. And this just basically shows you, and again, there'll be a blow up on the next slide, but this shows you the existing horse paddock on the right, the existing arena on the left. The existing fence is the gray dashed line here, with the barn existing for horses up front. And then we'd be setting the building back approximately 15 to 20 feet behind our building, creating a little bit of an area that we can, should we ever have an emergency in the barn, we want to have an exit 2 ways out of the barn. So we have that ability, and that would be kind of designated barn area for horse use. And then if you can imagine the parking areas in front of the barn, we would then come around to a main entrance on the side. And then let me just jump to the next page, which can kind of, so in a zoomed in, now it's kind of closer on that facility. So we have our existing barn up front, parking area up front here, and then this is our existing fenced area. So in yellow is our front of house operation. So we have our office, a little reception area, we have a prep room, a restroom, and a small grooming space, because a lot of times the dogs that we have in boarding, they want to go home cleaned up, buffed up, and finished up for the owner when they get back from their vacation or what have you. Then in green here, this would be our indoor boarding suite. The indoor boarding suites are an HDPE plastic panel, similar to what we have. Very easy to clean, very easy to sanitize. With, as you saw in the previous photo, glass panel, and currently we have 4x4s and 4x6s, which are a very comfortable size for the smaller larger trees. In the pink, we have indoor and outdoor kennel runs. So basically what we have here is indoor kennels with a covered portion, covered roof line, and outdoor runs. What this allows us to do is, in the mornings especially, it's very difficult to get 25 dogs out to potty. So what you do is you put them in these kennels, they go out, they do their potty, and then we have one of our team members, one of our staff members, start taking out groups into the play yard through the back door. And it's all organized and it's all very well controlled. And then another staff member will go in and hand clean the kennels and the runs and basically have it ready for the next turnover. And then, as Michelle had mentioned previously, this blue area would be our indoor play area. So again, inclement weather, we have those long dreary winters, a lot of snow on the ground, and we don't want the dogs trudging around out there. We'll have them exercise and play and train indoors. And then just some of these yellow lines are just some of the modifications we do to the existing fence area, because what we want to do is create a small exercise area, create a large exercise area, allows us to break up the groups, allows us to break up the read sizes. So it helps with the functionality of the facility. And Michelle can speak to this.
So this is our team. We employ people from the community. So we have a great staff. We met Layla on the video. So we do create some jobs, and we're happy to have people that are in the community working for us and with us. It's nice because we all kind of get to see and know each other somehow, and it just is it seems like we have a nice neighborhood feel at the Country Hut. And Alex and I are super happy to be living here in Foster. We didn't really plan on moving from North Smithfield, so this is coming to Foster was a dream for us as well. That's our team, and just some pictures from the past. It's a fun place. I mean, dogs are happy my dream. So it's a labor of love, but when you love what you're doing and you get paid a lot less than you used to, it somehow doesn't hurt so much. And it's a fun place, and the dogs are happy, and I wouldn't be doing this for anything else but to make dogs happy. And what happens is when I make dogs happy, I make people happy. You know, they get to learn to be around horses and whatnot, and they figure it all out. And you know, everybody loves their dogs, and I hope that it comes through that we love your dogs too when we have them with us. That's Louie. He's the mayor of the country club. And we just want to thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, we can be of any assistance we can have any answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, that's fine, sure. Within Sugar Sink, I had received many emails, and I'm not sure if anybody else did, but I forwarded them to Mrs. Dillon to ask her to forward them to everyone, and they were all very positive. We also have a email from Aaron Moslin, the animal control officer. I asked him to go out and look at it, and there's his email, and I also asked our building and zoning official to go out and look, and his email is in there. That being said, we will open it up to the public. Anybody? So,
Carol Shawley, 18 Boswell Trail. Did you hear how that was done? I want to hear all your names very clearly when I do these minutes, if I do these minutes. I would like to confirm that whatever Michelle said is true. My dog has just been there. He managed to pass his daycare. We were a little nervous about that. But he's a very friendly dog. Very friendly and rambunctious. But he did very well. I can say that as you approach her building, you do not hear the dogs, you do not smell the dogs. She is very much aware of what she is doing. She's doing it right. The other concern that usually comes up is traffic. There's not a couple hundred dogs there. 25 people coming and going, usually perhaps not all at the same time. It's not going to cause that much traffic, and she has more than enough room in the driveway to account for that. And the dogs are happy, and they are not barking, because they're very happy to be free and running around. When they're in their suites, they're quiet. I assume that part is soundproofed to some extent, Michelle? Wasn't mentioned yet, exactly, because you don't hear them. They're right in the middle of the village. You'd be able to hear complaints all the time. You don't hear them. Only my dog can smell when we're getting close to it. He gets very excited. So anyway, I just want to confirm everything she says is true, and I'm very much in favor of her being able to do this.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor? Mrs. Ryder.
Lynn
Stand
Ryder.
in the middle as we make everybody say. Thank you.
Lynn Ryder, Burgess Road. I just want to say that my sister's dog, Buddy Ray. Yeah. He goes actually. I'm Santi. He goes twice a week for daycare, and my sister is a fanatic with her. I mean, more so than with her children. And you know, she couldn't speak more highly. And I see Buddy Ray all the time. He's calm. I love your videos on Facebook or whatever. You know, it's like I want to go and play, especially in the winter, sliding down the hill. That was great. And the dogs, I mean, you don't see them frantic. They're milling around. You just see them on the treadmill. Buddy can use a little more. He's getting pudgy. He's, you know, or I know those things aren't trampolines, but they use them as trampolines. And Buddy did lose pool privileges briefly because he peed in the pool. But I think he's back. So again, you know, I'm not in the butter. I can't speak to that, but, you know, I just got a new dog, sorry, it wasn't Suki. But he will be visiting you.
If he's accepted.
If he's accepted.
If he's accepted. Someone, yes, could you just state your name and address, please?
I'm Jeanette Coleman Hall, I'm at 46 Plainfield Pike. I have taken my 3 Basset Hounds to Michelle since she first opened, and she has had a fantastic kennel. It is meticulously run. And my dogs were slower dogs. They were old Basset Hounds. So medical care was important to me, and she knows her stuff. She took care of my babies like they were her own. And I cannot recommend her skills and talents at the Country Mutt any higher. So I highly recommend it.
Thank you. Someone else? Yes.
Hi, my name is Michelle Bouchard at Company Hill Road. I've been actually going to the Country Mutt for about 3 years, and I adopted a dog from the south who was abused, and we weren't sure if he was going to pass his evaluation at first, but he did, and he fits in just perfectly. Michelle is a second mom. He loves her. The place, like everyone has said, is meticulous. The staff is well trained. They keep up with all certifications, which I like a lot. And my husband, who is also like a fanatic about his animals because they're our children, we wouldn't go anywhere else, and I trust them with all my heart. So,
thank you. Yes.
Judy, I live 65 Gina. I'm sorry, Michelle. I started going in 4 years ago. See, you're a little emotional. With our first rescue dog, we've added our second. Beyond professional. I agree with absolutely everything they've said, but to add to that, this is the perfect business for Foster. We keep saying how we want to promote businesses. If we get a good business and we can show how it thrived, maybe we can even encourage others to follow suit. It fits in with the town, it fits in with what we love in this community, animals. I don't know how it could be better for our dogs, it could be better for our community, it could be just better for all of us. I think it's fantastic, and I hope she gets it.
Thank you. Yes.
So Mayor, 112 South County Road, my concern is on the noise level of the dogs, nighttime, morning time. How are you going to address it?
Well, you know, we can definitely strategically, like I said earlier, the times when dogs bark the most is at transition times. And so that's mostly when somebody's coming in the morning to bring them out and feed them. That's generally when it's going to be. So, you know, we don't have to feed the dogs until 8 o'clock in the morning. And, you know, we can feed them at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, I mean, there will be a schedule, you know, that is predictable. It won't be random. That's not how we run things. But additionally, my husband does work in a field where he knows a lot about mitigating sound, soundproofing. You don't want a high ceiling, obviously.
Now, you have a wonderful report, but all these people that got in your favor, live distance away, we live right next to them. And, you know, really, I've been out here almost 45 years. I just don't want to.
Could I ask you to address the council, please? The process is to ask the council, talk to the council.
Oh, that's my,
what your
what I
concerns
said,
are.
right?
Yes, I
Okay.
hear what your concerns are. So you are for or against, and you're a neighbor, is that correct?
Actually, I'm a neighbor.
Okay, you're an abutter.
Yep.
Okay, and are you in favor of this, or are you an opposition?
I don't know yet.
You don't know
what's going
yet?
on over there.
Okay.
You know,
So you have questions about, you have
Right.
questions regarding the sound level, which is something that is a
I mean,
concern.
you wouldn't want all 25 dogs barking next to you all the
Right,
time.
right, no,
That's my-
we understand
for
that.
sure, that's my only concern.
We
I think,
understand that.
and I hear you loud and clear, because it's our residents too, we wouldn't want to hear that in our backyard, so.
Yeah, I know, they've been there, what, 2 years?
3 years.
3 years, you never came to see any of the neighbors. I don't know.
I'm gonna ask again that.
We can't see her.
She's pretty looking than you.
Oh, thank you. But I do ask that you address
Right,
that.
well, that's my question, the noise level,
The noise level.
and you're all in favor of them, where, I'm not against it, but I
Yep.
want to see what it
You have concerns.
Yeah.
We understand
That's
that.
it.
And that's why we're here tonight.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. But she's still better.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Morrow.
Howard Morrow, 157 Central Pike. I live about half a mile away. Noise travels in Foster. I hear the cows moving on Cucumber Hill Road. And that's almost a mile and a half away. But this is, it's good. And I support it.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak?
Yes.
Yes.
Name
and
and with an Madison, I live on 110.5, so.
Oh.
But that's-
Right straight across the street.
They're very busy people, believe me, I know. And this is one way to try to get a little information for
Sure.
ourselves.
Sure. So what are your concerns?
Well, not really concerned, just before they build a facility, they will stop the kennel, is that correct?
No.
Oh,
We don't have,
You know,
we don't have anywhere to overnight house them until we build it.
They cannot have, it's kind of we were discussing this, it's putting the cart before the horse, but they can't go forward with it, what their plans are unless they know what we're going to approve or not approve. So they cannot have a kennel until they have a building. So there's a process that they have to go through.
So that was the question I had, and also, was there anything on any books in Foster stating how many dogs could be in a kennel?
We do have a kennel ordinance. It does not state how many animals they can have in that, but if we approve it, one of the things that I would recommend is that we state a maximum number. Okay? So and one of the things that I addressed before, we don't have to make a decision tonight. We can make it at our next council meeting so that we can listen to the concerns that people have and try to address them when we give the license.
I'm not
Or
against
if we
it,
give.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
know some information.
Yeah,
We've
and that's a good question.
been for 3 years, and they're very familiar with those.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone that would like to speak?
I do a follow-up. I just want to point out that anybody living close to her, the dogs have already been there. If you're not bothered by the barking now, you won't be in the future.
That was gonna be my question.
I
thought Michelle said that the
They
dogs
don't.
are already going up.
They're being fed for.
Right.
So it's not feeding time, I think that's what the concern was, is that feeding time, as we know, when dogs
Yeah.
see food, they get excited, they
Right,
run.
I just wanted to ask the gentleman behind her if he's heard them yet. Have you
heard the dogs? They're going there daily
Yeah,
now.
a few times, it's
Not-
not,
it's
it's
not-
not annoying yet.
Yeah, okay.
I have a few times, which I can do.
Okay, thank you. One second, is there anyone from the council that would have any questions?
What?
Good presentation.
Excellent.
Yes, very informative. Yeah. West Warwick. West Warwick Public School.
I just wanted to say, if anybody does want to come by the property, and observe, unannounced, with a very large driveway, come on down, park your car on the side, in between 10 and 10:30, we show up with the van. We cannot stage or control anything other than what happens every single day. Come take a listen, come take a look. If I'm not there, which I almost always am, just let one of my staff members know you're a neighbor, and come listen and come observe and come take a whiff. And we're happy to let you just come unannounced and just observe and listen. Anybody at all.
No, I'm worried about the dog, that's all, that's not.
For comparison, Alex and I are in, professional Facebook groups of dog daycare and boarding and kennel operators. So just for the idea of scale, we are peers in metro areas like Cincinnati, Ohio, Chicago, Boston. They're housing 225 dogs. And I don't think I could keep up with that, or I don't think I could do those numbers
And they're indoors,
Indoors.
Overnight, they're indoors, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're
They go to
fed
sleep.
indoors, they're maintained.
They're tired, so they go to sleep at night.
Lisa, can I hear?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm Ryan Grace, but just to allay any fears, this is a license like any other license. It can be revoked if they don't do what they're supposed to do. So don't think that you're giving a license to someone who's gonna house dogs and it can never be revoked or taken back. It can be just like a liquor license. You see you see that thing, those things happen. So therefore, there is an ordinance in town, this town enforces for kennels, even though this will be your first one, if they don't do what they're proposed tonight, or down the road don't do it, they can come to a public hearing and the license can be revoked. So there are penalties and actions the town can take if they don't do what they say they're going to do. So just to allay any fears out there that it's not forever, these licenses. They have
And
to be
it's renewed
every year.
every year, April 1st
So
is when the renewal is.
Just-
So we would meet again, and you could come and speak at that time if you had concerns again. Is there anybody else?
Just a question.
Yep.
What's the zoning on the property?
What's the
Zoning.
zoning? I believe it's agriculture.
Right, so,
Mhm.
and agriculture is what everybody, it's the basis of the rural environment
Mhm.
that everyone likes in Foster. This seems like a very light agricultural use. I don't think the dogs make any more noise than roosters.
Thank you. Is there anybody as opposed to this? Anyone with further questions? Yes. If you come forward, give your name and address, please.
My name is Claire Livingston, I live at 56 Kennedy Road. When I decided to come here, I decided that I wasn't going to say anything, but I can. I'm neutral. However, I do have concerns and thoughts. I know the town is interested in bringing in businesses for the revenue. Job creation is very attractive, and you presented something that's very nice. That appears, from all around to be very, very nice. It's regulated and inspected, which is very good. Quiet dog daycare is very appealing. Customers don't live there. Customers don't live across the street. Customers don't live next door. Customers drop off their dogs and they leave. And when they come back, the dogs are happy to see them. The dogs have had a nice day, and then the customers leave. There has to be noise mitigation. I would suggest that at feeding time, doors and windows be closed, the building be very, very well soundproofed. Feeding time can be a frenzy. Noise travels. Barking dogs, noise can travel over 1,000 feet. It can travel half a mile. And it can be enough to make your life miserable, make others' lives miserable. I know you live there, but the neighbors live there as well. Arborvitae absorbs noise. I would respectfully disagree that vegetation absorbs noise. It might muffle it a minuscule amount, but vegetation does not muffle barking dogs. 25 of them, it doesn't muffle 10 barking dogs. Another question that I would have would be if the present potential owners decide to sell the business, does the kennel license transfer with the business?
No.
Or if they sell the property, does the kennel license?
They have to come before, us.
So, and the kennel license can be revoked, but that's also a very, unattractive thing for any neighbor to have to go through a process like that if it doesn't turn out to be as advertised. There are so many ways that
a facility like that can be a good neighbor. You just have to make sure that those measures are taken and followed through. Barking dog noise can be managed. I'm really surprised that all the dogs are lying around taking naps all day when they're outside coming for the dog daycare. I'm sure there are times when they're all running around happy and playing with each other and barking. So, the dog waste, there are, if you look online for composting and incinerating toilets, I'm sure there are things that they
You guys are good.
Ma'am, could you speak? I'm sorry, thank you. My apologies. Dog waste. There are many advertisements for composting toilets, incinerating toilets. I'm sure they sell things for dog waste. The statement was made, dogs poop a lot. Rambone, I don't know that Rambone likes
We
picking
can't
up
discuss that now.
dog waste.
We can't discuss that one now.
So there are things that could be looked at for that. So, just in closing, I would ask that the town, please, I beg you, please take precautions for the neighbors who, once this is going, it will be, despite the kennel license being able to be revoked, it will be very difficult to stop.
Thank you.
Ms. Wallace has a question for you.
Can
Can I ask you a question? If, in fact, the dogs are the noisiest when they're being brought there, which is about 10 minutes in the morning, 10:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30, and then when they're leaving to go back to Situate, 4 o'clock, when they're getting in the van. Has that sound traveled to you and bothered you for the 10 minutes each time that's happened?
I don't hear their dogs. I lived with the sounds from other dogs.
So, okay, so it's not that it has affected you? I get it, okay. I wanted to find out. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, sure, and the difference, I'd like to point out the difference there is that they are applying for a kennel license. And if their kennel license is approved, like the solicitor said, it can be revoked.
Right.
If I know the situation you're talking about,
So
and
this-
there,
this
if
is a
you
legal
had.
business. This
Right.
is a
The legal
business
business
operation.
and has to follow what we stipulate in the license.
But what I'm saying is, had people not gotten so upset about maybe a kennel license being in your area, that could have been
So
regulated, revoked.
I did not intend, and I do not wish to address that particular issue.
I appreciate that.
However, the issue existed before that application was made.
Thank you. Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you. One of the things I do want, is there anyone else that wants to speak in opposition? Yes, Patty.
Patty Monroe, Central Pike. I have to say, I didn't even know this was going on. And I've been by there at 10 o'clock, 10:30. I've been by there at 4 o'clock. I've heard nothing. And I don't live that far from you. I just noticed the fence up and said, oh, they put up a next fence. I had no idea, I've never heard a dog.
How come you didn't have to stand up?
Nothing. I
You're
didn't
right.
even know what was going
Could
on.
you please come stand to the center? Thank you, I agree. I know she's in pain, so I didn't want to, but you're right. I'm sorry. I have a little children. Are you done?
I've never heard their dogs bark. I don't live that far from them. I've driven by there at those times, whether they were coming or going, and never knew that was going on. Since
I'm sorry, there's no cross-talking?
I've never heard them bark. I've never knew that they were bringing them back and forth from Situate. So I don't see where there's a big problem with the barking dogs. Now, they must have, how many do you have during the day?
Excuse me, you can't
Yeah.
talk to her, you need to ask her.
How many are up there during the day?
She's He's putting an application in for 25 dogs.
I've never heard about, never, that it's not, I don't see where it's a problem.
Thank you.
She did a very good presentation.
Thank you. Yes, could you come to the center, state your name and address, please?
Joe Carey, I'm a member of the planning board, just to be open.
And your address, please?
Oak Hill Road.
Thank you.
I just had one question. It appears you're going to put this big facility. Are you planning on bringing the whole
You
business?
can't ask further questions.
Are they planning on bringing the business to Foster and eventually closing the place in Situate?
I'm not sure about
I didn't
that.
know it was going to be a standalone place, so they probably would need to bring the dog
I
back and
believe,
forth.
I believe in the presentation it said that they would be transporting dogs from Situate to here because people didn't want to come out to Foster from
So
North Kingston
continue
and
to
Massachusetts.
transport dogs
They're gonna transport
if they do open this facility.
Right. That, am I correct in that statement?
Yes, and there may be a time where, potentially 2 locations are too much for us. And there may be a time where the village can't fit for us anymore. So obviously, we are looking towards our retirement. And obviously, I'm gonna work until noontime the day I die. So, ultimately, it might be nice to really work from home. And in that case, though, people don't have the kind of time to drive 30 or 40 minutes to Foster, which is pretty much out of the way for most people to drop their dogs up at daycare. So, to answer your question, sir, the potential might exist where I go and pick up dogs with the van for daycare if I no longer have a Situate location. I mean, that's been thought of. But the Situate location is the hub right now.
Thank you. And as you make changes, as you know, Mr. Carey, the license has to be renewed and those changes would be addressed at that time. Thank you. Within Mr. Our animal control's email, it does state that the kennel license will need to be inspected by the state vet's office once it's complete. So it's not just us, it's also the state office. So that being said, I will close the public hearing and I will accept a motion from the council. I would recommend that we continue this to our next meeting, which is July 25th, to address the concerns that were brought up tonight so that we can have that within our motion for our license. So I guess I would ask for a motion to continue this public hearing.
I make a motion, we continue the hearing on the kennel license requested by Country Mart.
Is there a second?
Can we add to that motion? That we continue it to the 27th and make a decision that night?
Yes, the 25th, make a decision, yes. Yes, that was my intent. That was my intent. That was my intent.
So add that to my motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
I would have been absolutely comfortable going forward
I would
and voting for this tonight.
I would have.
And we could have included, I'm not sure what other concerns. I hate to hold you up and you had so much support.
I withdraw my motion.
I withdraw my second.
We can vote no. I do feel like, and I've spoken to Michelle about it, and I did say that I was concerned. I have concerns not about the facility itself, but that we do it right, that we address concerns so that it doesn't come back and bite us or bite them. I'm sorry for the term because you don't have biting dogs. But that would be I would like to sit down and discuss talk to our building and zoning official, talk to our planner, and see what recommendations they might have to include in our licensing for instance, that it does state that there's no more than 25 dogs. That we look at they're addressing the noise mitigation, but also there was a concern, which is probably addressed, is that the waste, where is it going to go? But that was addressed tonight. So do we need to include that within our motion so that it does continue?
So I don't know what building and zoning would have to do with it at this point to approve a license. I think further down the line, and they did address pretty much everything. I had no questions after that presentation. I'll make a motion to approve the application.
Well, if we have one motion on, oh,
Do we?
Okay, they withdrew. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the application of the Country Mutt and limit overnight dogs to 25.
Second.
Discussion from the council.
I think that the concerns that Ms. Livingston expressed would be addressed through the zoning and the planning board, and I would hope that they would be incorporated into what they're going to do. I feel confident that they're interested in keeping their neighbors happy, as well as themselves. I can't imagine living there with them barking all, I just can't imagine. So I'm thinking that they're very sincere, as evidenced by the presentation. So, with that being done, I'm very comfortable in voting on it tonight as well.
Mrs. Ryder.
Well, because you're only having one meeting in July and it's toward the end of the month, I'm just wondering if there's a hardship as far as time constraints for Michelle. Is that, because I know when you're going through this, you have time frames, do I want to get this done by a certain, before the snow flies or whatever. And that's,
Well, the motion has been withdrawn to continue.
Right, I
Now the
understand
motion
that
to-
too. But I was just wondering if she has time constraints that would.
When I spoke to her today, she did not.
Okay.
But that's a new issue at this time. So we have a motion, and it's been seconded to approve this license. I do want you to know that it is renewed every year at April 1st. So if you do have concerns, or at any point in time, you can call town hall and voice your concerns. Okay, so if the noise is getting loud. Okay. That being said, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations.